The objectives of this lesson are: first, to create sentences. Second, to form answers to respond to questions. Third, to speak sentences like a native, naturally, without thinking in Thai. There are 4 types of English simple sentences: declarative, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory. These are by functions. There are more types of English sentences. Those are more complex. We'll dive into those later. Now let's focus only on these 4 simple types. A declarative sentence is, for example, I love reading. An interrogative sentence is such as, do you like reading? An imperative sentence is like, read this book. 2 examples of exclamatory sentences are, such an amazing book this is, or, what a great victory. Now let's look at the first type, declarative sentences. The structure of declarative sentences is follows. A subject is followed by an auxiliary verb. Then comes a main verb, which is followed by an object, and a modifier, or modifiers. The auxiliary verb, object, and modifier, in the structure, are in parentheses. This suggests that they can be omitted. In another word, they are optional in declarative sentences. The first element of declarative sentences is the subject, which can be nouns or pronouns, including either human beings, animals, objects, places, or even abstract nouns. The second element of declarative sentences is the auxiliary verb. I put this element in parentheses, as it is optional to form declarative sentences. The list of auxiliary verbs are on this page. We can look at them in details in later videos. The next element of declarative sentences is the main verb. This is needed to form declarative sentences, so this element is not in parentheses. Main verbs explains the actions of the subject such as look, drink, ride, comb, sleep, etc. An object in declarative sentences is similar to its subject. The object could be a person, an animal, a thing. It could be a noun or a pronoun. It could be singular or plural. It could be countable or uncountable, but in the object form, which might be slightly different from its subject form. We'll look at them in details in future occasions. The last element of a declarative sentence is its chunk of modifier or modifiers. A modifier or modifiers is optional in forming a declarative sentence. In general, modifiers are categorized into 5 types, which need to be in the correct orders, as shown on the slide. Of course, with some exceptions, which we'll look in details in future lessons. As a general rule, a modifier of manner will come first. This answers the question of how. This is followed by a modifier of place, which answers the question of where. Then a modifier of frequency. This answers the question of how often. Then it's followed by a modifier of time, which answers the question of when. Last but not least, it ends with a modifier of purpose, which answers the question of why. An example of a declarative sentence is, she can write emails professionally in her office every morning at 9 a.m. to improve communication. She is the subject of this sentence. Can is an auxiliary verb. Write is the main verb. Emails is the object. Professionally is a modifier of manner. It answers the question of how. How does she write the emails? She can write the emails professionally. In her office is a modifier of place. It answers the question of where the action happens. Every morning is a modifier of frequency. This answers the question of how often. Then at 9 a.m. is a modifier of time. It answers the question of when. Last but not least, to improve communication. This is the modifier of purpose. It answers the question of why. There are 4 types of interrogative sentences. In English: the yes/no question, WH questions, choice questions, and tag questions. If you remember, the declarative sentences start with a subject, which is followed by an auxiliary verb, main verb, object, and modifier. On the other hand, a yes/no question starts with an auxiliary verb, which is followed by a subject, a main verb, and then the rest is in the same order as a declarative sentence. You can notice the switch of the positions of the subject and the auxiliary verb between a yes/no question and a declarative sentence. Examples of yes/no questions are: do you like coffee? Is she coming? Have they finished the project? Will you help me? These questions expect a yes or a no, followed by a declaration sentence, has the answers. So, the answer of the first example could be: yes, I like coffee. Or, no, I do not like coffee. Second is WH question. WH question starts with a WH word, followed by a yes/no question sentence. WH words are where, when, why, what, which, who, whom, whose, how. 3 examples of WH questions are as follows. Example 1. How did she sing at the concert last night to impress the audience? It asks the question of how, which is to ask for a modifier of manner. How is the WH word. Did is the auxiliary verb. She is the subject. Sing is the main verb. At the concert is the modifier of place, answering the question of where. Last night is the modifier of time, answering the question of when. To impress the audience is the modifier of purpose, answering the question of why. Example 2. Why does she exercise at the gym every morning at 7 a.m.? This question asks for the modifier of purpose, and it gives the information of modifiers of place, frequency, and time in the correct orders. Example 3. How often do you travel abroad for business? This question asks for the answer of modifier of frequency by using how often, and it gives the information of modifiers of place and purpose in the correct orders. Now, how do we answer the WH questions? We answer questions by using declarative sentences. For declarative sentences, we start the sentence with the subject. From example 1, the subject is she. Then it's followed by the auxiliary verb, then the main verb, the object, and the modifiers in the correct orders. In this example, even if the auxiliary verb of the question is the word did in the declarative sentence, which is the answer, it doesn't need any auxiliary verb, as it can show the meaning of the past by changing the main verb to the past tense form, which is sang. Beautifully in the answer gives the answer to the question of how. So, the answer is: she sang beautifully at the concert last night to impress the audience. The third type of interrogative sentences is the choice question. Choice questions look like yes-no question, but with the word or. There are options for you to choose. You will not answer yes or no, as you would in the yes-no questions. But your answer will be a declarative sentence stating the option you choose. The options can be objects or modifiers. Two examples of choice questions are: do you want tea or coffee? Is she coming today or tomorrow? The options of the first example are the objects, whereas the options of the second example are the modifiers of time. We answer a choice question by a declarative sentence. Here it asks, do you want coffee or tea? The answer, for example, I want coffee, or I do not want anything. Notice here that in the question, the word do is the auxiliary verb to help from the question. When the answer is in the negative form, we use do plus not as the auxiliary verb to form the negative sentence as well. The last type of the interrogative sentences is tag questions. Tag questions begin with a declarative sentence, followed by a comma, then an auxiliary verb, and a subject pronoun with the question mark. Examples of tag questions are: you like coffee, don't you? She's coming, isn't she? They haven't left, have they? If the declarative sentence is affirmative, the tag is negative. If the declarative sentence is negative, the tag is affirmative. How we answer a tag question is similar to how we answer a yes-no question. We answer yes or no, and follow by a declarative sentence. For example, we answer, yes, I like coffee, or no, I do not like coffee, to the first tag question example. And the answer of the third example of tag questions could be, yes, they have left, or no, they have not left. For imperative sentences and exclamatory sentences, we'll look at them in the future videos.